A naked young woman lies casually on a bed, and behind her stands a dark-skinned maid holding a bouquet of flowers. To the modern eye, there is nothing unusual about Edouard Manet's Olympia. But a century and a half ago, when it first appeared before the public, Olympia caused a scandal, one of the greatest in the history of art. What was the reason? Let's find out. Olympia is an oil painting on canvas. Its plot is quite simple. In the foreground is an unmade bed, on which a beautiful nude woman reclines. In her red hair she wears a pink orchid. On her feet, dainty mule slippers. She has no other clothing, but she does have jewelry, a black choker with a pearl earrings, and a gold bracelet. The woman's gaze is directed straight at the viewer. The second figure in the painting is a young, dark-skinned maid. She holds a lush bouquet of flowers. She wears a white garment, and her face almost disappears against the dull green draperies. At the foot of the bed, we see the third character, a black cat arching its back and lifting its tail. The interior of the room is mostly hidden, so the bed with the woman becomes the focal point of the work. Edouard Manet painted Olympia in 1863. The subject itself was not new. Renaissance artists had long painted reclining nude women. As a model for his composition, Manet chose the classical arrangement of Titian's Venus of Urbino, a woman resting on a bed with a sleeping dog curled at her feet. There is a legend about how the artist first met Victorine Meurent, whose appearance fit perfectly the idea he had in mind. He saw her by chance at a flower stall. The girl was curiously watching passers-by. He was struck by her delicate rose-colored skin and unruly red hair that refused to stay tucked under any hat. Victorine posed easily and with pleasure and soon became a wonderful model, natural, expressive, and extremely patient. In 19th century Paris, having one's works exhibited at the Paris Salon was considered a major artistic achievement. It was one of the most prestigious art exhibitions in France. Olympia made it to the famous exhibition only in 1865. Why did the painting provoke such a violent reaction? First, although artists had often painted beautiful nude women, they always cloaked them in ancient mythological narratives. At the very least, they depicted some exotic Eastern beauties. But Edouard Manet, defying all conventions, painted not an antique goddess and not an Ottoman concubine, but a naked contemporary woman. A European, most likely a French woman. Her jewelry and the room's furnishings made this absolutely clear. The second point was the title. Olympia was a common nickname for women of easy virtue at the time. The implication was obvious. Manet had painted not just a contemporary woman, but a woman of a certain profession. Traditional nude heroines were modest. They never looked the viewer in the eye. They appeared on the canvas as if accidentally. No challenge, no confidence, nothing that could make the viewer uncomfortable. Manet's innovation was that the heroine looks directly into the viewer's eyes, and her pose is frank, relaxed. And only clients usually look directly into the eyes of women of that profession. Thus, anyone who looked at the painting became, figuratively speaking, a client. For Parisians, even this indirect implication was enough. The painting was also stylistically innovative. Manet abandoned the typical highly polished, multi-layered painting technique of his contemporaries. In those days, the brush strokes were invisible, everything was smooth and silky. Even a nude body resembled a marble statue. In Olympia, everything is the opposite, rough, almost sketch-like. Lines are sharp, some edges blur. The painting carries the first breaths of future Impressionism, and Manet would become one of its founders. Furthermore, Olympia is filled with symbols and subtext. The orchid in the woman's hair was considered an aphrodisiac in the language of flowers. The bouquet the maid holds is likely a gift from an admirer. The black cat at the foot of the bed symbolically evokes witchcraft and seduction. The heroine's red hair also hinted at a loose life or magical associations. Edouard Manet rejected the accepted norms of painting and went his own way. Combined with everything above, it was simply too much for the exhibition's visitors, and the reaction was immediate. Olympia was subjected to brutal mockery. People rushed to the exhibition specifically to see and insult it. Crowds pressed toward the painting. People spat at it, tried to damage it with canes and umbrella handles. Guards had to be posted, and even they could not always restrain the crowd. There were even fights. Eventually, Olympia was moved to a distant hall and hung high on the wall so the enraged viewers could not reach it. The heroine was compared to corpses from the morgue, and the artist was accused of destroying the foundations of art. One visitor wrote that the figure looked like a rubberized female gorilla, and that he had never seen anything more cynical. He even added that pregnant women and young girls should avoid looking at the painting. Why such a reaction? It wasn't only Olympia. It was because Edouard Manet had shown a reality people preferred not to see. It was as if he told the audience, "Do you see? This is life, and it is not at all the way you want to imagine it." The most paradoxical part is that all this happened during the Second Empire, when Europe and both Americas flocked to Paris seeking sexual adventures. The city was famous for its luxury courtesans. The Paris police registered 5,000 prostitutes. Another 30,000 worked illegally. Pornographic books, postcards, and albums circulated freely. This was everyday life, and Parisians accepted it. But they demanded something entirely different from painters. After the scandal, Edouard Manet took the painting back and kept it untouched in his studio for many years. After the artist's death, in November 1890, Olympia was acquired by the Luxembourg Museum, and in February 1907 it was moved to the Louvre and placed in the main hall. Today, Olympia is a true jewel of the Louvre and a national treasure of France. The artist created something far greater than a painting. He showed that art can be honest, that modern life, however crude or unattractive, is worthy of depiction. After Olympia, art began to change. The Impressionists began painting everyday scenes, focusing on light, atmosphere, and the fleeting moment. The romantic, idealized images of the past were left behind. And what became of Victorine Meurent? Her fate was tragic. Victorine painted a bit herself and tried to become an artist. But she gradually succumbed to alcoholism, wandered around Paris with a monkey, and played guitar in street cafes. In the end, many saw her begging. Yet for art lovers, she will forever remain the bold Olympia. Today, looking at this painting, it's hard to grasp the full scale of the scandal. It seems there is nothing special about it. Just a woman on a bed. But this is precisely the revolution of Manet. He stripped away the conventions, the excuses, the comfortable distance between art and reality. And for this, he was hated, and later, loved. Because art that provokes, that causes a reaction, that makes people argue and think, that is true art. Not a pretty decoration for a living room, but a blow after which the world no longer looks the same. What do you think? Was the scandal around Olympia justified, or was the public simply not ready for honesty in art? If you enjoy deep dives into the hidden stories behind famous paintings, make sure to subscribe. There's much more ahead.